Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Snowbike channel. My name is Jared Stone, and I'm a Timbersled ambassador. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how I've set up my bike for the 2025 winter. And you know, the neat thing about this sport is you can set up your bike in a lot of different ways. There's so many different manufacturers out there now, a lot of different kits out there now, a lot of different products for us to choose from. And so that's what makes this really kind of a fun sport. You can make your bike as unique as you want it to be. So yeah, with that, we've got here in front of us a 2024 450 XCF, and the 450 XCF stayed relatively the same from the 2023 changes that KTM made to both the XCF and the SXF. With the exception of the forks. The forks now are spring forks instead of the air forks. And aside from that, it's pretty much the same bike. I'm going to go over what I've done to this bike in a lot of detail. And so this might be a long video, but this is going to showcase everything that I do to my bike to prep it for a successful season. Okay, so in front of us here we've got the Timbersled. This is a 2024 Riot 3 Pro, and in 2024 for the Riots, this is new for that year, the Gen 2 series. This is got a few different changes that I'll talk about. Primarily, you'll notice that this is a different track. The lugs on them have been changed. You still have this beefy side tower, but you'll notice that the design of the track changed just slightly. And they were able to actually shave, I think, 2 pounds off of the track. They took a look at the rails, and they looked at ways to cut out parts of the rail to make that a little bit lighter. They were able to save 2 pounds on just the rails. And also new for 24, they've got new lightweight drivers that you see here. And also new for 24 is an updated rubber for the spindle. And if you haven't upgraded this rubber, I would do it right away. That's the best 20 bucks that you'll spend on your bike. Really made a difference on the trails. You won't really feel it, you know, in deep snow, but on the trails it sure makes a world of a difference. So I'm going to step away from the bike and just talk about the wrap. This was a wrap that was made by Deviant Inc. These guys do just a really nice job. You can get onto their website. They let you design your own wrap on the website. You can change the colors and add logos as you wish. And then they send you a proof right before they print it off, and then you verify everything looks good, and then when you're done they send it to you. It takes about a week, pretty fast delivery, and yeah, they just do a really nice job. Makes the bike look really good. Other things that I do to the bike, I've got the seat concepts XL Element seat. I like the Element seat. It seems to not get as logged with water as the Comfort seat, and it's got a nice kind of grippy top to it, and they add these ribs here for extra traction. Little pro tip for people that have the Austrian bikes, the 23 plus, you can remove that bolt and then buy one of these knurled bolts so that it's toolless. You don't have to use a tool to take off your seat. You get that at your local hardware store. I forget the size. Might be like a M10 by 25 if I remember right. This is the XC, so it's got the larger 2.25 gallon tank, and then Pro Carbon makes this kind of carbon fiber wrap for your tank. And what's neat about it is they have this little cutout here so you can actually still see your fuel level. Pretty trick. I also like to run seal savers, protect those forks, And you'll notice I've got the Selkirk kit on there, but it's not fully on there yet. I'm still waiting on some parts from them. And another little pro tip, something I'm doing different this year is I use this thread indicator to help me monitor bolts. Last year, when you've got the Selkirk armor on, it's kind of easy to, you know, not see all the bolts and have one get loose on you. And because I don't want to lose any bolts, last year I actually had, I believe it was this bolt or this bolt, completely back out, and I was dripping a little bit of oil, and that was the only indication that I was losing a little bit of oil. It was just low enough where it was letting oil pass through. And so, you know, it's just a little trick for me to monitor the bolts, make sure they're all torqued down and staying in place. I am running the Tusk fan. This is, you know, a better choice if you're running the stock stator in these bikes. There's not a whole lot of wattage there to use. I believe about 30 watts. And I don't have a lot of electronics on this bike, but the Tusk fan uses 15 watts versus the Trail Tech and the OEM fans, they use a little bit more. So you got to be careful, you know, with that. Another little trick I like to do is I add this Noco dongle right here so that in the morning I can just plug into it with my battery bank and jump start the bike. Oftentimes when I travel, we're going places that are pretty cold and we're driving on the highway at 70 miles an hour, and these bikes get really cold by the time that we get to where we want to go. And it's pretty much standard practice to use the jump starter in the morning, fire up the bike using that, and then the rest of the day the bike will be 100% fine. Real quick pro tip here, crank this valve cover vent tube. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's right up here, and it comes down, and normally it comes down and kicks out underneath, down by your swing arm. And what you want to do, what happens, this will plug up with snow, and as soon as that plugs up, you'll actually burst this rubber gasket right here along the valve cover, and you'll start losing oil and make a huge mess. And so what I do is I tie in a T right here and add a little 6-inch run of new tube, and then I put this small little uni filter. It's like a $20 filter, and I put it actually right above, you'll notice it's right above the exhaust, so that if I do start leaking oil from this a little bit, it's going to hit that exhaust and I'll be able to smell it. The exhaust, this is the RP race exhaust. This is their MX exhaust, and I asked them to throw in a AFR bung, and when I went to install this, just a very quality pipe. Sounds great. Very impressed with it so far. I've left the pegs stock. You know, the last few years I've been running these wider KTM pegs that come stock on the bikes, and they've been awesome. They're not too aggressive. They don't chew up your boots really fast. Some of the aftermarket pegs, they're just a little too aggressive, and I noticed I was going through soles on boots pretty quick. So I like these stock foot pegs. This year, I'm trying out these Sidehill Moto Fall Line foot pegs. Looks like a great product. I've got an install video on that, and yeah, excited to see how those work. I run a LC tank. I get these locally at my dealer. They're like $25, and then you can get the base for like $20. And then the company that makes these straps, it's a company called M2 Inc. Let's see if I can get a picture of that. Yeah, M2. And they do a nice job. These are really, you know, simple straps, but they work really well. And yeah, they have a little nice lever here, and you can get them nice and tight. I like the Riot bags. This Timbersled Riot bag's awesome. I usually carry my tools, my jump pack, a pull cord, a saw, and sometimes I'll throw a drink or something in there. I am still running the QDT belt drive, and I carry a spare here in my backpack. And I won't open it, but inside of my backpack I've got a spare belt. You know, those belts are so light, it's pretty easy to carry spare. The Selkirk handlebars, the heated handlebars, are really nice. The way they have their radiator guards set up, they have this three-way on-off switch right here, and you can turn off your handlebars completely or turn them on 100%. Really slick setup, good placement. I really like that design. Up here, I'm running the stock bar risers with the CFR Cheetah Factory Racing SX bars. You can see these bars have a little bit of rise to them, and I found that running these bars, I don't need to use the C3 bar risers. And inside of here, I've got the Barotech Kumpan Cockpit Assistant. This is a nifty little gauge that shows RPM, engine coolant temperature, gear, and you actually can hook it up to show other things like oil pressure, oil temperature, or even AFR. So it's got some cool tricks up its sleeve. This is the Moto-Minded BBS bomber switch. Highly recommend these. The stock KTM switches that they put on these bikes, they're not that great. They're known to have problems. And so I pull it off and I keep it as a spare, and really like these switches. They're just built really well. They have a lifetime warranty. Let's see. Up here, I've just got a mounted light. These are cheap Amazon lights that have an internal battery. And I gotta say, I kind of like these lights. They're very bright. They last for about 2 to 3 hours, which for me is plenty. And what I like to do is run this light on the bike, and then of course run the ski lac lights on my helmet. And the cool thing about the ski lac lights is they can mount right here on any GoPro mount, and I've got another one up here underneath my visor. And so if I want to run my camera at night, I can do that and then still have my light. Pretty slick setup. You got lots of light. Running that setup, you've got light in front of the bike, and then you've got light on your helmet, so wherever you look, you've got light wherever your helmet's pointing. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Aside from that, I think that's pretty much it. You know, I guess one last thing I'll talk about, I did add the KTM off-road connectivity unit, and this is a new Wi-Fi device that you can add to your bike. It's about 180 bucks, and it allows you to change some of the engine characteristics, the throttle response, engine braking, gear cutout. And you know, in the past I've ran various ECUs, aftermarket ECUs, and so far my favorite has been the Athena Gets, but they're expensive. They're like $1,000. They do give you a lot more functionality, but so far the KTM app that you download seems like it's pretty well thought out. They don't actually give you like fuel tables or ignition tables to play with. It's more kind of, you know, user interface, kind of simpler, like basically slider bars that you can change to make the throttle response, you know, slower, better, etc. So we'll see. I'm not sure about that yet. It might be a gimmicky thing. We'll find out. You know, if you've got one and you've been using it, I'd be curious to know what you think. Aside from that, that's pretty much the bike in a nutshell. Pretty stock, pretty simple. I did change the gearing. I'm running, Timbersled recommends on these bikes a 13 tooth, and so I'm running a 13 here. And I'm running the stock jack shaft sprocket, and I'm running a different gearing here. Timbersled sends them with a 20. Oh, I gotta look. I think it's a 22 tooth up here and a 23 tooth down here for the bottom. And I've swapped out the 22 and I'm running 23-23, so 1-to-1 ratio there. Yeah, oh, airbox. So I'm a really big fan of these Air Force Velocity stacks. And I do double bag the intake. And I've just got this little bit of bungee here just to help pull it away from the frame. You don't want these filters to be touching anything if you can help it. They will vibrate and wear holes in things, and so just keep an eye on that. And another thing that I do on these air boxes, on the KTMs, the new KTMs, they have this hole here, and I like to plug that up just to prevent snow from getting in there. And so over here I've got a good example of that. I just cut out some foam and push that foam in there, and that works pretty nice. Alright, let's see, what else can I tell you? Yeah, running the TSS shock. New on the 2025 kits, Timbersled is adding these limiter straps. And you know, I used to really be a big fan of the Aero kits, and I love the Riot kits. They're really, really rowdy. They're really fun. Sometimes, for me, they're a little too rowdy in spots, and I want the ski to stay down, and I want to be able to pick my way, you know, through really tight tree lines. And sometimes that Riot setup is just a little too much of a handful in the trees. And so I'm really hopeful that this new limiter strap, and the nice thing with these shocks is you can change them up a little and actually lock out this rear shock and really make the whole kit more planted. And so I'm thinking for those types of days, it'll just be, you know, a couple clicker choice changes, and then I'll be you know, picking my way through the trees. So yeah, let me know what you think about this build in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. This has been one of my favorite builds this year, and I'm really excited to get out. We're actually looking at going out tomorrow. Today's Halloween, and we're gonna take a drive up north and see what we get. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. And if you like this stuff, think about subscribing, and hopefully we'll see you out there. Until next time, bye.